Almost 20 years ago now, the book The Secret came out, and it has made big waves in the New Age and spirituality circles. The idea that your thoughts are not just things in your head, but also have an impact on your external reality was a big eye-opener for many. And this idea has continued to make waves until today. And at first it's very empowering when you hear it. It's the idea that you're not a victim, but you can actually take responsibility for your life and actually change it by changing your inner state. And as many of you, I was a big fan of this, and I followed these teachings for a long time, applying them into my life. But now, all these years later, I'm starting to see the flaws, and nobody's naming them. Everyone that you see, at least to my knowledge, that is talking about this, is still saying basically the same exact message as was told in that book almost 20 years ago. And the message is basically this: force positivity. That's it. Every time you see a dude saying, oh, how to raise your vibration, how to transcend, all of that stuff, for me, I think is really just copium. It's just unrealistic. Because here is the issue. First of all, if you're responsible for everything, that is empowering, but it also means that every bad event, that's your fault. And so now, when something bad happens, you feel bad about feeling bad, which creates an internal war. And this will just accentuate the problem. They say, like, to get a good life, you're told you must always feel good. And they tell you this, you must feel good no matter the external circumstances. But they're still telling you this so that in the end you have the good circumstances. So they're telling you, yeah, don't care about the external, always feel good, but you're always doing this to get the external event that you want. It's like this paradox in Buddhism where they say you need to be desireless. And so what you do, you desire to be desireless. This is a never-ending loop. You will never get out of it. And so the problem is, well, this creates sort of like a schism within you. Like, negativity isn't a glitch to overwrite. It's a signal to integrate. And you're being told, well, do not integrate the signal, just force positivity. Like, forget what the meter is saying. Like, your heart is a compass. Like, it feels good because it's good. It feels bad because it's bad. But instead of integrating that signal, you're like, hey, I'm feeling bad. No, I'm gonna brainwash myself so that I feel good, no matter how bad it is. It's like, imagine if you're being beaten up, but then you're like, oh, no, wait, I'm feeling bad. But, oh no, that's my fault. I need to feel good, no matter if I'm being beaten up. And just transcend, somehow raise my vibration into like 11D. Like, that's just fairy tales, in my opinion. This is not realistic. And most importantly, this is not healthy or actually mature. It's another analogy with forcing positivity is that you have the blue sky, which is good. And then you have negativity, which is bad clouds that cloud it. But now what you're trying to do is put white clouds on top of it, on top of the gray, to not see it, to think like, oh, the sky is nice. Instead of what, in my opinion, you should be doing is removing the bad clouds, removing the bad stories, instead of trying to change them. It's always the same concept. Oh, you have a bad story that you're telling yourself, you need to replace it with a good story. But by replace, they mean keep the negative and override it with positive. It's like having bad code on an application, and instead of removing the bad code, you just put other code on top of it to compensate and have the good result. You don't put good code on top of bad code to have a good result. You just remove the negative code to begin with. And then you realize you don't need to force positivity. Like, if you don't have negativity, positivity is your baseline. Neutral is positive. If you don't have anything blocking you, you automatically go for happiness. Every human being automatically is attracted to positivity, automatically attracted to happiness. You always go towards that. There is no human who has no negativity, no resistance, who goes for negativity. Negativity is just resistance, but if you remove the resistance, it just flows. You don't need to add positivity to it. You just need to remove the negativity. But this happens by integration. It doesn't happen by trying to brainwash yourself into being positive. Because what happens is, if you try to brainwash yourself into being positive, you're not accepting and integrating the negative, which actually means you push it to the shadow where it grows, and you just make it grow, and your efforts are useless. And not to mention, every setback grows the shadow. It's like, oh, I didn't get the result I want, I failed at being positive. There you go, you feel guilty again. And then you feel guilty about being guilty, because now you know this is your fault, this is your responsibility, because you need to be positive, and you know feeling guilty is bad. You need to raise your vibration and feel blissed out all the time. So the real work is integrating negative emotions. Negative emotions are an internal signal. It means a situation or this thought or this, it isn't right. And true maturity is to face the darkness, to listen to the signal, and to act and change what can be changed. And you integrate it, you integrate what you can. And once you have integrated it, you return to neutrality, which means no resistance. And if you have no resistance, you automatically attract the positivity in your life. You automatically go for what you want to go in life. Now, neutrality, it's already flowing, it's already attractive. That's your natural state of being. Negativity is just a resistance to that. The idea of just think positive and raise your vibration, never look at the dark, for me is very childish. Like, the more mature take is, this just my opinion and my advice to you, is instead of running away from the negativity, trying to forcefully change the stories you have, feel everything, integrate the dark, which is going to lead you to return to neutral, and the flow will happen. Otherwise, it's just what you're doing is just spiritual bypassing, but it's about spiritual integration. And see, you're just accentuating polarity. Like, either you are a materialist, you don't care about the spiritual level and it's all about matter and stuff, or you're a spiritualist and then you don't care about the material, but you're too much in spirituality, and both of them is an imbalance. They're both ends of the spectrum. In both ends, you deny one part of yourself and you go too much into one. Either too much into the body without seeing there is a soul and a spirit, or too much into spirit and you deny the body. And when you're too spiritual, this is a major flaw in our spiritual community, is that this can lead to basically being delulu, where you're just in your own bubble and you're so disconnected from the real life, as much as a materialist is disconnected from the real life, but for opposite reasons. But it's still an imbalance. And to my knowledge, I have nobody seen talking about this in spiritual circles. It's all about raising vibration, being positive. For me, nobody talks about the real work, which is, because see, your negativity, this is your energy, this is a part of you, a part that you reject, and what you resist persists. So if you're trying to fight it, you're just creating an inner schism within you, an inner war, and you just lock part of your energy in negativity. The more you're trying to go positive, the more the negativity will grow. You need to integrate it, become a whole being, and then what you wanted out of the law of attraction will happen naturally. But also realistically, it's not gonna be because you have brainwashed yourself into some kind of always positivity image. Because you know very well as much as me that people who pretend to be all loving, all positive, they have a huge darkness. And you can see it sometimes when they're triggered. It goes up to the surface. And they're like, oh no, I have sinned. Oh no, I did something bad. I must be all loving and positive. While rejecting half of their being instead of integrating it and be whole. So, yeah, I would say stop blaming yourself for being a human and stop brainwashing yourself into fake positivity. Instead, I'd suggest you to integrate the negativity, return to neutral, and the flow will happen. This isn't about becoming a saint who is always loving and never feels bad. It's about becoming whole. So, yeah, and like I said, I've never seen anyone really talking about this. This isn't to invalidate the law of attraction and all of those teachings. That is still valid, but it is very much incomplete. Once again, as an analogy for what they're saying, it's like too much focus on the positivity and trying to ignore the negativity. Instead, I would suggest try and be whole. Integrate them both. Instead of being an imbalance in your polarities, trying to be too positive instead of integrating negative. And that might sound scary because usually when you see all these things about law of attraction and frequency and all of that, you usually came from like a very negative state of mind where you were in it, but that wasn't integration, that was reaction. You were living on a bad programming, and now you're being told, well, I need to change the programming, I need to become positive. And so now you are afraid of anything negative that happens in your life, everything that's bad, like, oh no, I cannot be bad. And you have this internal war happening inside you where you blame yourself. Instead, I would invite you to revisit the negative, but to sit with it, to integrate it, to accept it wholly, not to be reacted by it, not as a catharsis, but just to hold it in the space of your awareness. And you will see that if you do that, and it's not fun, it's not pretty, it's not as marketable as, hey, it's not as empowering as the idea of be positive and you will be a millionaire and you will have everything you want in life. But it is true and real. It is realistic. It is the mature thing. And I think at some point we all know this deep down, that the real path is this. It's not faking positivity, but it's hard and it's scary. But it's also true. Like the real solution, the real integration, the real path to wholeness and happiness is through that. If you're able to be with your darkness, your shadow, all those negativities you have, and see them and hold them, and listen to the message that's behind them, because usually it's some form of protection. These things are there because of past trauma, of past this. But if you can really see it, you'll see the message that's behind it. And you will be able to integrate it. And to give the analogy, it's not trying to cover the dark clouds with light clouds. It's to sit with the dark clouds, and then they will naturally dissolve. And when they dissolve, what's there? The blue sky, what you were always looking for in the first place. It's just a part of your energy that is stuck in this negativity. And by trying to force positivity, you are just like keeping them blocked. and they grow. You don't give them a chance to be integrated, but if you do, you can release them, integrate that energy back into your being, become whole, and then you will naturally flow. So yeah, I hope this helps and was interesting, and I definitely encourage you to give it a try. It's okay to be human, it's okay to be whole, and you don't need to fight yourself to find the light.